May 4th, 1963. That was a very special day for me. It's the day I became a Christian. I like to go back 59 days though to March 23rd of that year. That's when the whole ball started rolling about this new adventure I was going to be on. See, my friend Ron Hauer, he'd been inviting me to go to his church several times throughout the years, and I always turned him down politely. I just really wasn't interested in church. It wasn't my thing. My parents weren't very religious. They were Catholics, but they weren't practicing Catholics. Sometimes we went to church on Easter and Christmas, and that was it. So I just didn't have any interest in going to church with Ron. But this time, when we were seniors, he approached me with that there was a new pastor at his church. He had a teenage daughter that he was really interested in and wanted me to meet her. And it enticed me a little bit further. He said that there's this other girl in his youth group that he wanted me to meet also, and they were going to a social event, an ice hockey game for the high school youth group in LA. It was the LA Blades, minor league team back in those days. So that didn't sound so threatening, going to an ice hockey game, meeting two girls. I said, okay, I'll do it. So it just so happened to be on my birthday, March 23rd of that year. And we all met at the church parking lot. It was Rolling Hills Covenant Church. And I met Donna, who is the pastor's daughter. Wow, she was a knockout. Ron was right about her. And we started getting in the cars, the carpool up to the sports arena in LA. And Sherry was like the last one. She was the other girl. And she was like the last one to get there, and we already were in cars. So she went in another car that was different from the car Ron and I and Donna were in with a couple other kids. So we got up to the sports arena about 5 blocks, and we started walking towards the arena. And that's where Ron introduced me to Sherry. I could even remember the apartment buildings they were going by. I bet I could find them if I went back there, if they're still there today anyway. So that's where I met Sherry, and I automatically started really falling for this girl right at that moment. At the ice hockey game, Ron, Donna, and Sherry, we all sat together. And of course, the two girls kept asking me questions because they didn't know anything about me. So I really started enjoying their company. The other kids I was enjoying, they were really friendly. And the guy who was in charge, it wasn't a youth pastor back those days, it was a youth sponsor. And his daughter was in the youth group, so I guess he took control of the things we did. So anyway, Larry Johnson and his wife Minnie, they were just really friendly to me. So I was just having a good time, and when they asked me to come to church the next day, I didn't hesitate at all. I said, yeah, I'll go. And so that was my first experience of going to a Protestant church, and it was just totally different. First of all, everybody met in the sanctuary and sang songs. There's some different activities, some announcements, and then everybody went to their Sunday school classes. Yeah, they had Sunday school classes back then for every from the smallest kids to senior adults. So I went with the high school group, and again, Larry Johnson was the teacher of the group, and so I just really felt comfortable with the kids. They were really friendly to me. It's the first time I was opening up a Bible and reading it and studying it. That was just all a new thing for me. And then when we went to church after Sunday school, after the church service was over, I remember all the adults came up to me, well, quite a few anyway, and introduced themselves. And I never had adults come up to me before and introduce, the only adults I think I talked to besides my parents were my teachers. And I didn't really have a conversation beyond schoolwork about talking to them. So this was all a new experience to me, and I really was, yeah, this might be something I want to do. Of course, I wanted to get to know Sherry better, and I was enjoying meeting Donna and all the other kids in the group. So I started going to church every Sunday, and not only Sundays, but I went Wednesday evening, and then also Sunday nights, and then it seems like every weekend the youth group was doing some special thing that we all got together. So my whole life was just changing around from never wanting to be involved with church or anything. That was where all my energies were. Once a month, the youth group would go to this big youth rally in Long Beach. It was Youth for Christ, YFC. They had Christian clubs in all the different schools around the area. Where I went to school, San Pedro High, we did not have a Christian club, but the kids in the youth group at Rolling Hills, there's like Sherry, she went to Palos Verdes, Donna went to Torrance, and other kids went to Narbonne and Gardena and other schools around the area. And some of those schools had YFC clubs. And so we all went on once a month. And it was just kind of a fun event. All these kids get together. We did different activities, sang songs, did some fun games and stuff. And there's like a movie or a special speaker. And then at the end of every program, they always had an invitation for anybody who wanted to accept Christ in their life to come forward. I was curious about that because I was learning about Christ. Larry Johnson, who was in charge of us, he had me start reading the Gospel of John. That's where I started off my journey into the Bible. And before that, I never read anything in the Bible. And so this was just really fascinating. The life of Jesus. Wow. I was just really into it now. And then when they had the invitation at the youth rally, I was starting to see what all this was about, having Christ come into your life. So the next month when we had the YFC rally, I had done a lot of studying in the scriptures. I have talking to different people about this idea of letting Christ come into your life. I was understanding it. I was noticing, or I figured out now what all these other kids had something special. I just remember when I first met them, there was just something special about them. It was like they had something special, and I wanted to know what that was. So now I was finding out is that they had Christ in their life. So I wanted that too. So when that second meeting came up a month later, May 4th, 1963, that's when I went forward and asked Christ to come into my life. So no big explosions went off, no fireworks, nothing, like I didn't start glowing or anything like that. But I knew I was different. I knew like I belonged to the rest of the kids and the other people at the church. I felt, the Holy Spirit working inside my life. One thing that really did happen right away that night, God took away the dirty mouth I had. In school, especially around all the guys, I cussed like crazy. I told all the dirty jokes. Now, back in those days, you never cussed at home. You get slapped in the face. If you cussed in classroom, you get expelled. And you didn't cuss around the girls. You just cussed around the guys. And I was very good at my cussing and the dirty jokes I told. But whatever reason, God took that away. I didn't ask it. I have not cussed. It's been 59 years ago now. At all in 59 years. A year and a half later, I went into the Army, and it was all you heard was cussing every other word for a 2-year period of time. But I still didn't cuss during that period of time. If you ever ask my kids, what's your dad like at home? When he gets mad, does he start cussing? I know they'll say no because they never heard a cuss word come out of my mouth. If you ask any of my colleagues I had at work when I worked at the post office for 31 years, ask them, did they ever hear me cuss? None of them could claim that to be true because it never did happen. And then when I played sports, you get playing basketball, you get competitive, you get a little angry out there sometimes. And even, I played in a lot of Christian leagues where you wouldn't know the guys you're playing with are Christians. They get hyped into the game. And never a cuss word came out of my mouth then either. And then recently, a couple years ago, I was building this shed and I was videoing myself doing that. And in the process of using a nail gun, I had my fingers wrong and a nail went through 2 fingers. And this one gal, she was just commenting when she saw the video of that I didn't cuss when I did that. I just went, but not a cuss word came out because, God just took that away from me. That was, something that God has dealt with that night, and it's been that way for 59 years. So when I look back, I just been blessed with the life that God has given me. He changed the course I was going prior to that and put me on a godly course. I think one of the special things about being a Christian is that you have that assurance that when you breathe your last breath in this world, you're going to be in the presence of the most holy God and be with all the other saints that gone on before you. That was really relevant to me when I was in Vietnam and in battles where bullets are flying and bombs are going off, and you're thinking this could be your last moment. Like you just really felt you could be in the presence of God in the next second or so. And yeah, I was really scared, probably wet my pants, but I still had that assurance of knowing that if this does end right now, I'm going to be in God's presence. And then a few years back, I guess it's been 20 years now ago, I had cancer. And of course, when you get that diagnosis, the first thing you start thinking about, oh, I'm going to die. But mine was, okay, how am I going to beat this? And even if I don't, I know that I'll be, again, in the presence of God, which I'm going to be there, eventually anyway. When I was born, you had that hourglass and it starts off full and then you turn it upside down. Well, now I'm 77 years old and that sand is getting down to the end. But I have no fear of death. I am prepared when that time comes that I know I'm going to be in eternity. And I know I'm going to be with all those loved ones that gone before me. I'm going to be with them. I know my wife, my kids will be there eventually. It's just an insurance to know. So that's what happened to me May 4th, 1963. My life has totally changed. I just wanted to share that experience with you. It's been a great ride. I've been really blessed, like I said. Of course, I have fallen down along the way. God has picked me up, dusted me off, and put me on the course just like a father would do when a son trips and falls or is learning how to ride a bike. That's what same image that God takes care of us when we have our little things don't go right, picks us up and gets us on our course. So in closing, you could have that same insurance in your life. Anyone, age-wise, sex-wise, whatever. God came into the world. He loved the world. That He gave His only begotten Son, that who shall ever believe in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. So it's all you have to do is believe and ask Jesus into your life. You need to confess your sins, and He is faithful and just to forgive you of all your unrighteousness and cleanse you from that. I tell you, it's really an assurance to know that if something was going to happen, when that sand comes to the end of that arrowglass, that there is not a fear there, but a joy that you be in the presence of God. That's my story. I have no regrets looking back, and I hope that if you haven't accepted Christ in your life, that maybe you think about this and you could do that now and have that same feeling of insurance. God bless you. Have a great day.